start rolling. Mike, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. Great. Excellent.
I should say Chef Mike.
Nah, I don't know if I'm a chef anymore, dude. I mean,
No?
I don't know. No, it's, I think once you go to the corporate world and you start developing things, I think it's different. I think a chef's somebody who slaves behind a stove all day. And, I'm certainly not doing that. I would say it's more of like a project management role
Right.
with some use of your palate, but yeah.
So, like, first and foremost thing I'm always very curious about, and especially with you, like, where's that inspiration for food and kind of love of cooking? Where did that kind of start for you?
So I grew up in Sunnyvale, California. So that's like the heart of Silicon Valley. And it was always different races of people, everything, and I pretty much grew up in a Filipino, Asian, Latino neighborhood. I don't know if that's long and winded, but the sense of it was like all based around family, dude. And just like every time you go into somebody's house, they were eating, there was like a pot of rice on the table with some other food, some weird fermented stuff, and
Right.
people just hanging out. And it was like the parents would always look at you like, "Oh, Michael, you hungry? You want to eat? You want to eat?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Who doesn't eat, So you get in. That was my way in, was just seeing like that perspective of it, and like the cultural part of it was like, oh, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something sexy about it. And I mean, I'm 47 years old, so it's not. I wasn't the kid that grew up in that generation of. I didn't grow up in that generation of watching food TV or anything. Not to say that I didn't do it in the 90s or the late 90s or something, but so it kind of I always just thought it was sexy and it was cool, but it became a whole different thing once you get into it. So,
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when we first crossed paths, it introduced at least me to a whole different world and a whole different way that you could really like play with food. I was actually just talking with a buddy Steve the other day about how the mac and cheese that you made is still by far the greatest mac and cheese I've ever had in my life, and it hasn't been touched. It was rich, creamy, had a little ham in there. It was absolutely fantastic, and I loved it.
Yeah, my time in there, and like how I ended up in Salt Lake was interesting too, because that was kind of like a different journey in life. The wife and I had been out years before, working for somebody, and we opened up Butterfly in downtown Salt Lake, and that was like way before its time. I think that was like 2005 or 6.
Okay.
And so post Olympics, hey, things are booming in there, and I was like, okay, so we went there and did that. She ended up buying a house there. This is before we got married, and so we were living in wine country up in Sonoma, and I lived in San Francisco for most of my life, and I was just like, I got to get out. I want to go do something else. I just don't want to be stuck in one place the rest of my life. And she's like, she owned a home in Salt Lake Valley, and I was like, let's go out there. It's going to be a change of career path. It's not like I'm not doing fine dining necessarily, but it doesn't matter. It all became about family at that point. It's just like, all right, I got my son. Want something better for my son. Let's go check this out. So. Getting out there was interesting too, man. It was part of the journey that I'm still on right now, but that was kind of where it's, that's just another stepping stone of where the journey started. And it was cool to get to know you guys out there and have a good time, man. It was interesting. It's interesting too, like where you guys live. It's an envious lifestyle, man. It's how people live for the season and do different stuff, man. So my time out there was cool. I miss it.
Yeah.
I cried the day I left Utah, dude.
Well, I mean, it was sad to see you go.
I bawled, dude. I was bummed, dude. I remember because I drove out to Atlanta, and I remember sitting in the garage and I started weeping, dude. I was like, this sucks. Bugs. But then once you get somewhere else, you realize that life's a journey and you can always go back somewhere. So,
Right.
I was that guy. Who did I live next door to? I lived next door to 2 houses down from the mogul skiing guy. I wish I could remember his name, but you're going to tell me who it was.
Am
Coach at like Wasatch Ski Club or something?
John O'Brien?
No, come on, man. He had 2 kids, and they lived in Cottonwood Heights.
Cottonwood Heights. Rick Shaner.
That's it. The Shaner, dude.
Shane,
Shaner was the man, dude.
Yeah,
The first time I saw that guy, he's like, yeah, still, he was like skateboarding in his garage in like a small little halfway mall. Who is this mysterious man, dude?
Yeah, no, Shaner's still coaching for Wasatch. Yeah, no, he's the man, the myth, legend for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. See,
so
that's
kind of going back a little bit towards inspiration for cooking and stuff like that. How did you kind of know that you wanted to navigate in that space, right? Because you ended up going to the California Culinary Academy, right?
Yeah, I think, man, and you can look at like a lot of these cooks now and chefs that are out there and people who are into food.
Right.
I always feel like we were like kind of a derelict group. I'm not, I think we kind of are, you know, it's, I think a lot of us, you know, like in high school weren't, you know, didn't take it as seriously or, you know, I feel like I'm grouping people into a segment here, but it was always like passionate people, kind of like a punk rocker almost, you know. It's just like the cooks back in the day are just like they loved what they loved, and you know, it was a cool thing to do. But for me, it was like it gave me structure, you know.
Right.
So you know, going to school, because I went to college for a couple of years and it just didn't work out. I just didn't do that well. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to go to culinary school, and I loved it from day one. It was just like, you know, what you do in life. Just love what you do. You know, you hear like your dad say that to you, your parents say that to you, and you're like, you know, it makes sense as a kid, but not totally. Sure. I mean, for me, it's just, man, just do what you love to do. I don't know if the money's always going to work out, but success-wise, success is within. You know, it's like you know what your success is, and if you're happy, you're happy.
Yeah,
it made me happy. Like you, buddy. You know, that's what. Happy, dude, you know what I mean? So,
of course.
Yeah,
it was definitely not for the money.
No, but now that I'm on this side, it's interesting. There's different sides you can take in the food world that'll make you money, but it's like, what are you willing to give up?
Sure.
Like I gave up my cooking career kind of for this side that I'm in now, and you know, just let you know what everybody knows. So now it's like, anytime you see something for Arby's, you know, we do a lot of limited time offer stuff. You know, if you see something in the news like this flashed on, I mean, it's a simple sandwich. It's nothing. There's more to it than just the sandwich, but it's usually me and a couple other guys that develop all the food. And so it's been a different transition, a different life, but I miss the camaraderie of a kitchen.
Sure.
But I enjoy the weekends and nights with my family too. So.
Well, how exciting is it to kind of play with some of the products and stuff like that? I mean, that part's got to be different and kind of creative in its own right?
Yeah, I mean, I still cook at home a lot, man. I mean, I have a garden behind me, but I mean, at work, it's more of managing large scale productions of things. It's managing people's expectations, you know, instead of me like putting out, you know, a few hundred dinners a night to customers. It's you know, you're putting out 3 million pounds of a product to somebody, and you have to manage that throughout the 6 months of production, you know, and it's interesting. It's a totally different world, and you know, it's all about the people that you meet and fun that you have.
So how difficult is that, like on a day-to-day, like what kind of helps you stay on target when you have such a big production to deal with?
I don't know, man. I think the older you get, that once you go through life, you become, you learn from your mistakes. You know, you learn from, you know, don't jump to conclusions here. Be a little bit more chilled out here. Don't do this. Don't do that. So I think age, man, you kind of just learn how to just take things in a little bit better. And I mean, I don't think that happened for me until about 5 or 6 years ago, where I kind of just started like, just kind of go with the flow a little bit, sit back, take it all in before you react to stuff. And, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a bit of a difficult thing, right? I mean, age is kind of the only real thing that'll help you mature in some certain aspects, right? You kind of have to live that experience to be able to grow.
It's the horrible equalizer, dude, you know? It's like the older you get, it's like you start to notice all these things, but your body doesn't react the same. So, but anyway. Yeah.
Right. So moving in, and how did you find your way to Arby's? Because it was such a big change of pace for you, right?
Yeah, and it's not a really easy. It's really not an easy world to get into. It's
I would assume. I mean, yeah, it's got to be.
no. So a guy who I went to culinary school with, man, he and I were best friends in culinary school, and we had stayed in contact. And he'd always been in when we were in culinary school. He was. I kind of knew that he wasn't going to go work in kitchens, as he had a marketing background from like Boston University, and
Okay.
so he ended up going to the manufacturing side. And he's been at Arby's for, I don't know, 16, 17 years. So I called him out of the blue when I was in Salt Lake. I'm like, listen, I got to get out. I got to do something else. I can't be, I think working in that environment, as long as I did, I made it so 40 plus. And I think it makes you a little bit mental, and I mean, and I actually thought about this the other day, because every time I think of your name, I think about the time that I yelled at you one time and I got so pissed at myself. And I know that I apologized to you, but I still carry it around to that day. Every time I think, oh, Bobby Carroll, I'm like, oh, damn, that time that I yelled at him. I was like, dude, I was just being such
probably doing something stupid.
No, but it was just like, it was just one of those moments where you just like, in that business, it happened way too often. And you're like, this isn't me, but this business is making me this way. I hate to use that as an excuse, but it did. So then that's why I called up my buddy, and I was just like, listen, I got to get out of this, dude. It's a little bit mental at my age, It's just a physical aspect. It's like, I'm looking for a chef. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I flew out there, and it's like, I've been down south before, a lot of my family lives here. And so I got here, and I was like, all right, I saw what the job was. I sat in these meetings, and I go, okay, it's a lot different, but it's going to be better for my mental being in, I didn't know what it was going to do for my wife and child. You'd be surprised how kids adapt better than we do. So made the move, and it's worked out. I mean, man, I've learned so much in my 6 years of being the chef at Arby's. Now that we've acquired Buffalo Wild Wings, Sonic, and Jimmy John's, we all kind of work under one building together. So it's kind of interesting working in it's like a $15 million kitchen, and you're working with all these chefs from other brands that have actually done the same stuff that I have in the past, and that we're hanging out under one umbrella. It's cool. It's interesting.
What's the
in a short way, in a long way? That's how I got to Arby's. So
right. What's like the fun things do you get to come up with creative stuff, or is it you have essentially a box to be in? And
so how it works for us is it's marketing. I mean, like anything in life, most things are driven by marketing. So you look out on a calendar, a yearly calendar, and you'll say, oh, we need to fill. Sorry, by the way, Arby's is like an LTO company, limited time offer. We do a lot of monthly specials and whatnot. So. You're looking at a calendar, and you're looking at, a year out to 16 to 18 months out. And, we'll come up with an idea. We'll come up with the product itself. We'll take it to a sensory testing, and, then it goes to a launch, hopefully. I mean, the hard part of all of my job is going into manufacturing plants. Like if one day you produce, 10,000 buns, and the weather's nice outside, and the water's cooperating with you, and your employees are cooperating, and the run goes well. And then you go into the next day of like, here's the next 10,000 buns, and you're producing like 10 million buns. Inevitably, something goes wrong, and you have to fix that. So that's the big thing that people don't realize about product development, and and in the QSR world is a quick serve restaurants. I hate to call it fast food sometimes. Is the hard part is managing the food production along with making the food. Making the food's not the hard part.
Right.
It's managing what's going on within that.
I would imagine like making the food is kind of the fun part, right? I mean, it's the same thing as being a chef, because it's your own creativity.
Yeah. But once you've been doing it so long, you're like, this is going to work. This is going to work. It's interesting as you work with so many different companies to get to one product. But, I find more interest in how this country works with food. And I mean, everybody eats something that is produced by a manufacturer. Unless you're living completely off the land, everything that you're doing is being manufactured. And a lot of people hate to like take that in. It's hard for them to absorb. Like, oh, hey, oh man, I can't believe I'm eating this. I should be eating this instead. But you'd be surprised on how much care that these manufacturers, for the most part, put into their product. And, it's not a dirty place and it's not a bad word. I think that's the journey for me right now. It's just something totally different with food. The other side, like that fine dining side that I was always on, it's like, I do it at home,
Right.
Here part of all these wine clubs, and I get in garden vegetables. I go to the farmer's market and I keep it alive that way, So,
Sure.
yeah.
What's favorite things for cooking? What do you like to whip up?
Oh man, I grill out a lot, dude. Like I'm looking out there to my left, and I got a smoker. I got a Komodo Joe, and then I got a regular Weber, and and then I don't know, man. I make everything and anything. It just depends, Try to keep it simple. Try not to put too many carbs on. Try to save the carbs for the wine and the beer.
Perfect. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but no, man, it's been an adventure. It's been a cool ride. Getting into the food business it's a tough one. There's people that, like I said, are on the manufacturing side, and they're really smart PhD, really, smart people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got my side, people who have eaten a lot of things, done a lot of things with food, been the ones experimenting with it. So it's an interesting combination, So.
I mean, how long would you say it kind of takes for that palate to, you say now you just know something's going to work and something's going to happen like that, it's going to end up where, like, how much time does that, because I can say, at least personal experience, man, I love to cook, love to grill, and you usually have a little bit of an idea that, hey, it's going to work out, or usually, it's
everybody
hard.
has a palate. Everybody has a palate, dude.
Right.
Everybody has a palate. They just don't know what's good. It's like
Perfect. So you were talking about palates, and everyone has a palate.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, everybody has their palate, and there's no right or wrong in palate, but I'm just like, I'm just an educator. I'm just a facilitator, and be like, hey, try this, try that. And, don't limit yourself as such in life. It's like, why are you going to limit yourself? Go experience stuff. And, you never know what you may like.
Sure.
I'm going to say that I'm going to eat like, balut, which is like, an egg with a beak and feathers and an undeveloped thing. But, I'm going to try most things in life and have a good time.
So would you say that's one thing that kind of limits people? They kind of stick to those things rather than you kind of got to go. It's the same thing like traveling abroad and things of that nature. And like, you need to get that, soak that experience in to kind of broaden the horizons, and that kind of builds that creativity.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing how, I mean, not in every country and everywhere you live, people are just stuck in their little town and they don't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. And you can't really blame them. I mean, that's just what they're exposed to, and they don't feel like getting out of their comfort zone, and that's
sure.
It kind of sucks. But no, you live. I mean, I always thought about that about Park City is, you're in a place where people are like, F that, dude. That's this, I'm here for the adventure. I'm here for, traveling, it's interesting, to see that there, that spirit there. And it's always been cool. And, doesn't really translate to the rest of the world, but once you get people to try their food and have something to drink with you, it usually loosens everybody up and everybody starts having a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think essentially, from exhilarating experiences in your life, I think your best experiences come around sitting with people eating food and, having a drink or something.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's definitely some of
If you took out the drink and you just had the food, then there would be no arguments probably. But some of those arguments with drinks are kind of interesting. So
they are pretty interesting to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Definitely not.
And hopefully they just revolve around sports and not politics. So.
Definitely a little bit touchy nowadays, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But so one of those things that, you've kind of discussed a little bit as you're going through in your journey to where you're at now, I mean, what would you say has kind of helped you persevere and kind of stick through? Because there's so many different times and so many different situations, running a restaurant, things of that nature. I mean, something's always going to break down. Something's going to get ordered wrong, or, maybe you don't get the right shipment of what you need for the ingredients. And how do you kind of stay nimble and persevere through that?
God, I hate to go back to like feeling such a Debbie Downer, but I think a lot of success in what you do is based out of fear. You know,
Right. Sure.
the failure to the fear to failure. You don't want to fail. And it's that's like that pride thing that you have inside of you that kind of keeps me going every day. It kind of sucks. Like, why do we feel like that, man? Why do we feel like we have like this fear thing that makes us want to do well?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely fear failure. You want to go out and you want to perform your best.
Yeah,
you
have a sense of pride.
You put in, especially when you put in all the work and all the effort, right? I mean, you spend, in my case,
exactly
1,000 jumps at the water ramps in the summer, jumping into a pool, 5, 6 days a week. You're lifting or doing cross training, and then you're spending, so much time on the hill skiing and also, to be able to make that work, right? Working in a restaurant, going to school, working, construction during the day, just so you can support this dream and try to chase what you can. And that fear of failure, I mean, in our sport, in mogul skiing, it was 30-second run. So you put 10 months, all this effort in for 30 seconds, it's gone.
And you're being judged though, dude. The other thing crazy about that is like the whole individual sport thing to me is interesting because, and I almost prefer it because my son, he's 12 years old. We travel the country wrestling. He played football. He's played soccer. He's played basketball. Mm-hmm. But I've really stuck to wrestling with him. But but on the other side, which is just a single sport one-on-one with somebody else, but being a mogul skier, it's like I can imagine you hitting like this run in your life, and you're like, you put the arms up, and you're like, yes. And you see the scores come back, and you're like, that son of a bitch, dude. How did he not see that? That's like the greatest run of my life, dude.
That's what happens
by somebody right now, That's gonna be maddening, dude. Like, I used to watch like, you can even take it to like figure skating, and you watch something. Just the sports where you're just by yourself and you're being judged. I'm like, oh man, dude, that's gotta be rough, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're going down the mogul hill, like hitting somebody with a stick and the first one to get down through the moguls,
It's not a Chinese downhill.
Is that what they call that?
That's down to the bottom, Chinese downhill. That is the freestyle terminology. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Plus, even that sport, you take a beating on your body too, man.
Yeah. Well, it's most sports. I mean, wrestling. I grew up. I mean, before I was skiing, rough. I wrestled until I was about 9, 10. I mean, my uncle wrestled in college. Right. My dad wrestled high school, and so I mean, grew up doing it. Especially right around the corner. I mean, Wasatch has one of the top wrestling programs in the entire country. I mean, it's fantastic.
Cale Sanderson, the coach of Penn State out of Heber, as you well know.
Yep.
Yeah. They got, there's, dude, Utah's very big into wrestling, dude.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely grew up with it. I mean, Dan Gable was super inspirational for me when I was going through. And as you kind of say, you have those individuals, right? The skiing's a very individual sport. And, it's you against the hill. And technically, and the judges. I mean, unless you're racing, then it's just you right up against the hill. But
that's it, dude.
You don't have someone trying to pin you in 3 minutes, right?
No,
it's definitely a much different dynamic. While it's an individual sport, I mean, one of the things I also look to was tennis, because tennis, you still are technically against somebody, right? You got someone on the other side of the net, but it is very individual. Like you have your own little team that kind of help build and create you, friends, family, couple coaches. But for that, you're kind of on your own little journey,
No, I always feel like that community's tighter, though. It's the one where, as a parent, when you're in a team sport, there's a lot of daddy ball that goes on. But when you get to those individual sports, it's a lot different. I think it's a lot more supportive at times, individually with the kids, and it makes them learn how to find success on their own, dude. It's interesting, and tennis is interesting as you mentioned, because I always remember you were a Roger Federer fan.
Speak of the devil.
Yes. And so my son is like, dude, he looks athletic. He's big. He's 12. He's super in shape, and he's bigger for his age, taller for his age. Not like an ounce of fat on him at all. And but his coordination is a bit off, dude. He's such a power wrestler, and, but he hasn't grown into his body. And one of his coaches was like, "You should take up tennis." right as this COVID thing went down. I was like, yeah. And then the COVID thing happened, and we haven't been able to get him out there. But yeah, like I'm like, yeah, dude, you need to do tennis, and he's up for it, with the hand-eye coordination and everything. It's pretty cool, man. So yeah,
well, what's a really good book for him if he's really into the wrestling, and I know you sent me some pictures of him. Like I know he did training camp at Ohio State, right?
He's been to Ohio State. He was to their training camp this year.
It's Tom Ryan.
But
he's
hung out there.
It?
What's that?
Isn't Tom Ryan at Ohio State?
Dude, that dude is amazing, dude. Yeah. We met him, and sorry, dude, real fast. This guy, we walk in there, and we got a personal tour of Ohio State. I know, like he's a 2-time heavyweight champion, Tommy. I do work with him, and he invited us up, and we went in there, and we're hanging with like national champions. Logan Stieber, he's one of like 5 people that's won 4 national champions. NC2A, and Ryan walks up to us, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm Tom Ryan. I'm like, yeah. He starts asking about David. He's like, oh, I heard you won Super 32, and what's your go-to move? And he's asking me about my job at Arby's. I'm like, who does that? Yeah, like only really cool, like awesome people do that. And then I found out a story later on, which I'm sure I mean, if you mention his name, then you probably know a story about his son that died.
I don't know if I do know that.
Yeah, he had a son that died at like, I think his son was like 5 years old. I forget what he died. I forget what happened, but it like totally changed his mind and who he was. And he's written, some books about it, but just an amazing dude. I was blown away by the guy. I'm standing there the whole time, and I'm like, I'm gonna talk to the guy. And I was just like, I mean, dude, mouth was dropped. I'm like, who is this dude? I'm all, this dude's awesome. Amazing, So yeah, definitely. Tom Ryan, man, class act.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he coached at Hofstra before he went to Ohio State. So that's why I remember the name. That's where my dad played college football. So I'm pretty sure Tom Ryan was at Hofstra before he made it.
I think you dropped some good knowledge, dude. I think that was some good knowledge, dude.
Yeah, well, I follow
Northeast wrestling knowledge, dude.
Absolutely. So but I have a Season on the Mat would be a really good book for your son to read. It's,
all right.
Dan Gable. It's about him after they had gone 9 straight national championships, was going for 10 and kind of after. And it's just that whole team and season. It's awesome. Really good read. So Season on the Mat. Wrestling. So
I need to read that.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Honestly, I'd usually read. I'm not the biggest reader. My wife is, and my son's pretty decent, but I read like 2 or 3 books a year, and it's mainly stuff like that, like autobiographical people stuff, like kind of like what you're doing right now. It's just just talking to people about their life and whatever. And now I have to check that out, man.
Yeah, it's definitely be a good read. Any cookbooks people out there should get? Is there any one that like I need to have that's gonna make me complete?
I mean, there's like certain ones that are just like Bibles where you're like, oh, you need to have that. But it's interesting. I think the bigger guys sometimes in life have like really good cookbooks. Shoot, I don't feel like I buy as much anymore because it's weird, man. Like you can get all that stuff online now. Like you're thinking of something, then you pop on a recipe and then you kind of look it up. But I mean, Thomas Keller's first book, I know it's like stuff you can actually make the stuff, but most old school chefs refer to it as the Bible. But there's all kinds of
stuff. Who is that? Thomas Keller?
Bible. Thomas Keller from the French Laundry.
Okay.
People, but I don't know. I mean, it's really fancy, and it's about over 20 years old. But when you look at the picture, it's a nice book, and just the recipes in there, you're like, oh, this is the Bible.
I don't have the Bible, so I'm gonna have to get on it.
You're gonna have to get the Bible, dude.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to get the Bible, dude. I don't know. It's weird. You can get everything online now too, and so I just I do. I'm looking over here, and I'm like, see that the Sean Brock book. It's pretty cool, and I don't know. You used to be able to go to books. I remember living in San Francisco, man. You used to go get books. You go to the bookstore, dude, and you were like that cook that was like, oh, look at the new book that I got. Times are totally different now, Now it's like, look at the knife I got. It's totally different. So, the food.
Do you still roll in for baking? I mean, what's because I feel like cooking is so much more fun because you can do like a bit of this, bit of that. It's not like you have to follow the rules as precisely. Where
Yeah,
I
and I
feel
think
whenever
that's
I bake, if it's not exact, like if it's not exactly a quarter cup, it's going to be totally fucked.
unless you're mixing flour and eggs, sometimes it is, but other than that, no, just have fun. I think my I've always been very conservative when I came to cooking, and there's all these people that had the other mind that like they add a certain thing here and add a certain thing here, and you're like, whoa, how'd you come up with that, dude? I just think you should throw things in there that you don't think you should throw things in there. I think that the world of cooking's changed in 15 years. I would say 2005, you start really seeing a change in people.
So throw things in there that you don't think you should throw in there.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. Try it out. What does it hurt?
Mm-hmm.
I think like 2005 is like, let's say 15 years ago is when people started like doing weird stuff, man. And like started throwing things together like, oh, I wouldn't put ricotta cheese with anchovies, but somebody did it and they're like, cheese and fish, yeah, it tastes actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just, so it's interesting to see where the world of food has gone. I just, and the things that people are doing out there is pretty creative.
Sure.
You just need people to go out and try them. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets stuck in their little village or wherever they're at, and they don't want to go out, look outside. And so how do you draw those people out? It's like hunting.
Sure.
How are you going to trap the bunny in the trap? And
yeah,
that person to try that. So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like, do you, because Arby is such an LTO, I mean, do you get that kind of opportunity to throw something out there that's maybe a little outside the box?
So like when I was hired, I remember I had to go through this interview process and this, like the CMO and the vice president, the senior VP of the department asked me like, oh, what would you do different right now? And I was like, do sous vide chicken. Because the only way to cook chicken is really sous vide, dude. If you sous vide, I think it's going to taste amazing, And I had a sous vide background going back, years. And so we made it come to life, dude. I mean, we were the first fast food company to, pretty much put out sous vide stuff. I mean, the only other person who probably did it before us was maybe Panera. But, we've been, they may be in a little different space than we are.
Sure.
But done that. We've done pork belly. We've done duck. A whole duck breast as an activation for 1 week, and we did venison. We had to go over to New Zealand and source all the venison because there was, there's nobody in this country that there's not a processor of deer meat, venison anywhere in this country. It's all like dudes hunting. That's all it is. Like there's nobody farming venison. There's nothing. So it's like we had to go all the way over to New Zealand to get that. So there's cool stuff like, that we do. I get people texting me all the time like, oh man, you guys did pork belly, you guys did, duck. Like, yeah, just try it out. And so that's been fun.
It's got to be pretty rewarding though, right?
Yeah. I mean, the travel that I meet, the people that I meet, I travel a lot and it's been fun. I mean, not right now, obviously, but, and then I work with the chefs from Buffalo Wild Wings and they're awesome, and then, the guys from Sonic and they're just really good people. Just doing something different in life and, having different food experiences through different adventures, So.
Right. So in that travel, where would you say would be one of the best places to go to kind of get inspiration for food and kind of?
It's usually like the big cities. It's always like Chicago or New York, Chicago a lot. There's a lot of meat plant. There's a lot of the manufacturing stuff there. New York, I've probably just gone to a bunch of times, just more based on advertising stuff and agency stuff and just showings. And, we have 2 stores, in Manhattan, like 3 or 4 years ago. So doing stuff like that. Most of my travel is based on the East Coast now. So, I go to Charleston a lot. Charleston, South Carolina is one of the most amazing places in this country that people either they know about it or they don't. If they don't, they're missing out. It's just the food scene there is insane. It's mind blowing. But
what kind of food?
It's very eclectic, dude. There's a lot of Asian food, man. There's like, God, man, you got everything there. You got to think about like Charleston itself as a port city. Was a slave city. You go back, it just has so much history like New Orleans, that it's kind of adapted its own culture, you know, a lot like New Orleans, but food's a lot different than New Orleans, not even the same.
Okay.
It's more eclectic, whereas like New Orleans' Cajun food is, where like Charleston's, just like everybody who's hopped off any boat ended up there and did something weird, whether it be a, Chinese, Filipino, Spanish. I mean, it's just such a mishmash, and it's just the architecture's a trip too, because it looks like you don't feel like you're in the United States. You feel like you're, in a old English city or something. It's weird, man. But in the food there, it's just, but there's soul there too. You get out there, it's hot, it's muggy. There's an atmosphere. It's like, if I had to equate it to something like, when you're in the Uintas, dude, in the middle of the mountains, and it's just you, and you hear like a wolf howl, and you're like, whoa, it's one of those weird things where it takes you back. Like you get like, that's the other part about food, man, is there's got to be like that environment. It's like, I'm not going to eat elk or venison or buffalo and feel like, wow, I'm having a great experience if I'm eating it in like South Georgia. It's going to feel better when I'm eating it, in Wyoming or there.
Sure.
When you're there, when you're eating shrimp and oysters and stuff, it's just the whole,
right.
There's a whole vibe to it, so
totally.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I need to go to Charleston.
Oh, yeah, you need to go to Charleston. Nashville's cool too, man.
Nashville's
too. Okay. Dude, Nashville, the food scene in Nashville is like, is really good too. That's what I find funny about food is you can find a food scene anywhere. You never thought Salt Lake would have a food scene, but they have a food scene.
They do, yeah. No, it's definitely changed quite a bit. I mean, even Park City has definitely a little bit of a
they do.
Scene for
yeah,
sure.
They do.
Yeah,
yeah. I love talking up Utah. It's funny how many my friends are. I have a friend that just passed through there in the Moab, and they're asking me for recos, and I'm like, I want to stop telling people about Utah. Dude, bro, that's my dream, is to get back to Utah. Like when David grows up and goes off and does his own thing in life, I'm like, Joe and I are like, dude, let's go to St. George. It's down south,
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous there for sure. Beautiful. The Red Rock, the golfing's good. And I don't think I've ever had the food there though, so I don't know.
No, that's the problem.
Swinging
that's
on
a
the
huge
way,
2 hours to Vegas. 2 hours to Vegas, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's right. Vegas has got fantastic food. Vegas is so good. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, no, St. George is no culinary hotspot, dude. But
definitely.
I just revealed my dream to you, dude. That was easy.
That's pretty easy. Yeah, St. George.
Yeah.
Make your way back.
Yeah.
But so for some people like getting into the food industry or getting into cooking and stuff like that, what would be some advice, because you have gotten that experience and you have kind of become a little more seasoned and you've learned so many different things. Like what would you be able to pass on to them to be like, hey, maybe avoid this kind of misstep or some of those things?
Go work for the best person you can. In this business and anything in life, you only learn from people that are good. If you learn from a shithead your whole life, then you'll be a shithead.
Right.
So always go learn from somebody good. I mean, there's going to be a point in your life where like you got to go out and somebody says, oh, hey, you want to be the chef of this restaurant? And you a lot of people are like, oh, I'm scared. I don't think I can do it. No, just go do it. Just go do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You fail. I mean, in this business, you can always find out, you can always get another job. And, but I think in the end, it's not a sustainable. It's hard to be sustainable in that as a chef for the long run, or even if you work in a kitchen. It just depends on, there's so many social things that go on with working in kitchens too, I mean, if you're a Latino guy working in a kitchen, it's like you start out with a goal and a dream too. It's like, I make $100,000, dude. I'm gonna build my house in Mexico. I'm going home, so I think there's a lot of social stuff to that too. There's people that come here from other countries and that's all the business that they can work in, and so it just depends on the person, but the cool thing about food though is it can take you on a journey, it's like you're not stuck in one place, it's like if you're a coal miner, maybe you're only working in Pennsylvania, dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Food. At least with food, you can move around, and go experience the world a little bit. So, yeah. advice. That's a tough one, man. I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell, but that's, man.
Surround yourself with good people. Find
Dude, bro, life's a deep thing, dude. Life
Sure.
is a deep thing, dude. You know? So
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's one of those things, you know, especially with food, it's just so much like fun. And to me, I'd always just think of like the creativity that it kind of brings, because you really can peanut butter and jelly sandwich can bring you so much joy, and it is something so simple, you know, and that's one of the things that food just really delivers such joy to everyone. You know, there's not one person that is going to be like, oh yeah, no, I don't.
But the problem about the people on the other side is when you're making food every day in a situation, you're making it every day. Now I get a project, I have like, 3 months, I have time. It's the thing about you're in a restaurant, it's like every day it's the routine. It's like, as a human being, you get to a beat down stage, it's tough,
Sure. Yeah.
But if you like it and you love it, then you keep going after it. It's weird, dude. It's like, you're like the beaten dog sometimes, you just keep coming back, like, hey, you see that dog that gets beat every day or something, you're like, well, you keep coming back for more,
Yeah.
It makes me keep coming back. You're like, good Lord, dude. So, but life's can be an adrenaline rush, and you just gotta take it as it is. It's a tough business though, especially on that side, especially like that the restaurant business is like, oof, man.
No, it's a brutal industry. I mean, it's one of those things that it grinds people up and spits them out for sure. So many good people that just end up having to go into rehab and things of that nature, because you have such access to those things, and it is such a beat down, and it is such a ride. And, as soon as you get done, all you want to do is go have a drink and decompress, because it can be such a long day,
Listen, having a child and having a wife will cure that. And it's the greatest thing for a chef. Like anybody, like the greatest thing that can happen to us is like, go get married and have a kid. And it's the best thing to ever happen, but there's those seasoned warriors out there too. Like I can remember this guy that you and I worked with, and I wish I could remember his last name, Craig, curly hair Craig, older.
Yeah. I remember Craig. Yeah.
Craig's last name.
Yeah.
Can you say Craig's last name?
Poncelet, right? Craig Poncelet.
That's it.
You're thinking of? Okay. Yeah.
What a professional, dude. This guy, he knew what is he? I think he managed properties.
Right. Yeah. No, he did property management as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, he came into work every day. And then when he ended up having a family, he knew what he'd do. He was driven, just like, boom, I'm coming here. I'm doing this. That's it. I'm out. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. There's that side too, man, where people don't do what you were, same thing go on afterwards. He's like, no, going home, be with my wife, wake up, my other job in the morning, and get my money and move on, always happy.
Yeah.
Always happy.
Well, I mean, speaking of that a little bit, I mean, how much do you think the attitude kind of affects the success of what you're?
It does, but I don't know. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, no. I mean, dude, happiness is everything, man. And I just think I've only achieved it in the last 5 years.
Well, no, not necessarily happiness, but I'm saying like that attitude towards it, right? Like, if you have kind of that poor negative attitude, that can be a lot to overcome, like if the world is always falling down around you and everything's garbage, like that's kind of a sad outlook. And I would definitely say I've been fortunate enough to have a really good attitude, and it's definitely the glass is always half full, not like I'm not Eeyore by any means.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, like that Craig always embraced it, dude. It's just like, just embrace it. It's it's life is too short, man. It's just go have fun, and enjoy the moment. But, like I said, as a society today, and it's probably always been like this, I only know from obviously my experience in life, but
sure,
we need to be a bit happier, dude. So not easy.
Well, I think, restaurant wise, the only thing that makes people unhappy is if people show up and there's like 10 minutes before you close, and then they sit there for like 2 hours.
That's one of them. That's one of them. You're like,
for those out there, if a restaurant closes at 10 o'clock, do not show up at 9:50.
9:50? No. Well, then you can, but you can also blame the hostess on that too. Be like, why did you let these guys in?
Yeah.
No, but then I'm going to go back to Craig. Those guys like Craig, that Craig would be like, bring him in. I'll take that extra $10 I'm going to make tonight.
That's true. That is true.
Yes.
Yeah. That is definitely
it was the guy who doesn't want to stay for you know, when you serve lunch and, you know, your server comes in at 11 and he's like, it's 1 o'clock. I'm only going to get like 2 or 3 more tables, and he decides to leave. But the guy that stays until 3 o'clock kills it, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely not wrong there, for sure. But that was always the one thing that I hated, you know, back in the day when I was doing it, was just going in and you have those people that kind of come in like right when it's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then they sit there. It's one thing, like if you come in and you know that the restaurant's closing, you're aware that it closes in 10 minutes, you get your meal, you close out, you leave, because it's like, hey, I'm holding up, you know, it's just being cognizant, right, of not only yourself, but the other people around you. You got cooks in there, you got managers, you got other people that also have lives and things that they want to do. Maybe like, okay, yeah, I'll get in, I'll get out as quickly as possible. And but I don't think a lot of people have that thought process when they go to the restaurant.
Yeah, right? Those people have never worked in the food service industry.
Sure.
If you've worked in the food service industry, that's like rule number, you know, it's in the top 10 of the rules, dude.
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. No. Dude, it's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It's annoying to everybody, actually. It's annoying to the bartender. It's annoying to the server. It's like you just annoyed the whole restaurant.
Yeah.
Except for the hostess. The hostess could give 2 shits, to be honest with you. So.
Well, usually they would usually bounce. Like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I'm done.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later. Have a good night. Doors are locked. No one else is coming in.
There's a lot of the stuff I don't miss, dude. I got to be honest with you. It's like,
sure, yeah.
The camaraderie is like the thing where you're like, oh, I do miss that. You're not, you know, the
Right.
banter and the dumb stuff. You know, I miss that. You know, but you know, food is something we do every day, man. And I just want people to make food at home and sit around with their families and, you know,
Sure.
have a laugh, say stupid stuff to each other and have a laugh, you know.
Absolutely. No, it's some of the best conversations that could be had. It's just
around
the dinner table, which I feel like if there's one nice thing that you could say about COVID, is that it's kind of forced people back into that situation a little bit, right? Like you were cooking at home and you're having to actually interact with people. I mean, there's nothing to really look at except doom and gloom in the news. So hopefully you got your phone down and you can actually have time to cook a dinner and just kind of chat, you know, and that's definitely been lost for sure with everything, that the hustle and bustle of the world, right?
Now, saying that though, you're not home alone, are you?
I am not home alone. No,
No,
not home alone. Yeah, I got my fiance with me, and we. I
know. I thought you were getting married. Yeah, and she was a mogul skier too, right?
Yeah, she's on the U.S. ski team, so she's still going. So she's
whooping your ass.
Absolutely, all over the place, dude. Yeah, yep.
That's funny how women are strong, man. You know, you know, in this, I work. I mean, even like you're talking about food and kitchens, like the women, or, you know, you get a woman in the kitchen, and you know, if you know, like everybody says, if we had to have children, we wouldn't have any children at all. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Well, she crushes it. She crushes it in the kitchen. I mean, she's always.
That's good, because you know what? It's not that way anymore. It's like, you know, it's totally switched to like, you know, men are doing the ones that cook, and I guess we're eating the most anyway. So
yeah,
probably the most picky anyway. So it makes sense.
I usually stick to the grill, and I'm quite good on there. Like last night we had some fish tacos, so I got some salmon, seasoned it up.
Nice.
It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So try to keep it up. I mean, you got anything that I should branch out and throw on the grill that would be unique that I don't think that I should grill, that should maybe go on there?
Not necessarily, but what do you cook a lot? Do you smoke any meats at all? Or are you just
just been grilling. I don't have a smoker or anything yet. I mean,
what kind of tacos are you doing? Are you doing corn tortillas, or are you doing flour?
We did both.
All
Corn
right.
and flour.
Dude, I would just say, dude, when you throw that tortilla, throw it on the grill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in Mexico, you'd use like lard or something, and you would put it on there, and it's pretty soppy and like greasy. Dude, if you got to spray some Pam on there or some oil, put that on the grill, dude. Throw that tortilla on the grill and get it charred.
Tortilla charred on the grill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Char that. I did not throw the tortillas on the grill last night. Full disclosure.
What'd you do?
We didn't even heat the tortillas up. It was like
whoa. I expect better from you, dude. You can do better than that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Hold me
Rub them
accountable.
down with
This is
some
good.
oil, dude. Throw them on that grill, dude. Get them all charred up, dude, and get some flavor going in there. Because anytime you char something or you reduce liquid that has flavoring, you're just reducing water. You're getting more of like that umami thing going on. Your different flavors and sweet, sour, charred, roasted, whatever it may be, caramelized,
Yeah. And then
Just
sous vide chicken. Sous vide is
Sous vide chicken, dude.
Sous vide the chicken. That's the way it's got to be.
Sous vide chicken. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have an immersion circulator?
I do not. No. So it's something I need to.
The interesting thing about sous vide is and I'm sure everybody's starting to hear about it now, but it's more for. It started out and you can look it up. It was for foie gras, like the duck liver, so they wouldn't lose so much fat. They sunk it into water and cooked it. But the really thing about it is if you cook vegetables in a cryovac bag and you put it in water or meat, you're saving all the nutrients.
Okay.
If you're health conscious, sous vide's the way to go. Say if you just cook some beets in a bag, you're not boiling them in water, you're not roasting them in an oven. They're staying, everything that you have cooked is staying in that bag. Carrots, whatever, lentils, whatever you're making.
Yep.
It's all staying in that bag. You're not losing anything, in the water that you blanch it in or whatever. So you're keeping all the nutrients in there. And the cool thing about it is if you do it, you sous vide the vegetables, you sous vide the chicken, you do big batches of stuff. You maybe do a curry in a bag and you put it away in your refrigerator for 4 weeks and it's ready to go,
Right.
You just go put it in a pan, heat it up, and you just sous vide everything in a bag, and you have a one-step dinner, and you're golden, bro. It's like, yeah.
All right, that's good to know. What about an air fryer? I've heard that's the latest thing that I've been hearing about is that I need to get is like even before is the air fryer. I'm like, okay, I've never.
Yeah.
Is that the way to go?
I guess, but I don't eat a lot of fried food necessarily. Like I'm not the biggest fried guy. I'm sure.
In hot Atlanta?
Yeah, I don't.
Come on.
I know. I don't know. I don't eat air fried stuff myself, and if I fry anything, my wife does because she's Colombian and she likes patacones, which are like plantains, fried plantains. But I'm actually a bit lucky because there's this company that I deal with that makes Wagyu. Wagyu beef? Yeah, right. The A5 Wagyu beef. They make tallow from that, so beef fat. So they send me beef fat in the mail. So I'm like frying in beef fat, everything, which is delicious, actually.
That sounds really good.
I don't fry that much. But the air fryer, yeah, everybody, I almost bought one, but everybody that I talk to, they're like, yeah, I like it. So I'm still, it's like one of the very few things that I don't have that I'm thinking about getting.
Okay. All right. Well, if I get one before you do, I'll let you know how it goes. I mean, we don't really
take some photos, bro.
Either.
Dude, photobomb me, dude. Photobomb it, dude.
Photobomb it.
Yeah,
that is like the new thing. I mean, how much is it with food? I mean, the food art, right? The food porn, as people call it, just being able to go out.
And food porn is rivaling regular porn, dude. It's easy. Even I do it. I mean, I'll make something at home. I'll be like, my family's respectful. We wait till everybody sits down before somebody eats, and they're like this, ready to eat. And I'm like, no, hold on, I gotta take a photo of mine. It looks really good. You feel like such a little slut when you do that, You're just like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now, But no, hey man, it's kind of cool, man. See what people are doing,
Yeah.
That's like the difference between your Facebook and your Instagram, Facebook
right.
is and then you got Instagram. People are like showing pictures of their family and like food and flowers, and you're like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a lot different,
Definitely. I'll have to throw some more food on there for you when we get some stuff.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
I'll show some tortillas on the grill. So
yes, all just juiced up and like char marks on them, dude.
I do make a really good grilled pizza. Get the dough.
Yeah,
fresh ingredients.
You can.
There.
Yeah, that's good.
A lot of fun.
Do you have a pizza peel? Do you have the pizza peel, like that metal pizza peel or a wooden one?
Just goes right on the grill.
But you pull it off with your fingers?
Usually just a few spatulas, flip it over, and then you gotta get
just lie. So you should have just lied. No, you should have just lied to everybody right now and said that you did it with your fingers, dude. You just fried it up with your fingers.
Not with how hot I get my grill, dude. I get that thing like 700 degrees.
Oh, I'm sure, but that's what you need for it to do that.
My hands are definitely not calloused and tough and that kitchen environment. It's crazy.
No, mine aren't either, dude. People like look at my hands, and it's odd that I'm having a conversation about people, grabbing my hands to look at them. But dude, I swear to God, all the time, like this happens 6 times out of your work. They look at my hands, they're like, they're like shaking my hand, like, why is your hand so soft? I'm like, I don't know, dude. I worked in kitchens too for too long. Hey, some of us have very few genetic qualities, dude. I'm gonna say one of mine is my feet and my soft hands. That's it.
Soft hands. There you go. So do you think if you want to get into kind of cooking, I mean, how much did going to culinary school, how much does that kind of benefit or help you like along the way? Or do you think it's not a necessity?
I don't think it's a necessity anymore unless you go to, well, I mean, they have different programs now. So it's like if you go to Johnson and Wales or CIA in New York, Johnson and Wales, the main ones in New England. Or anyway, yeah, I mean, they're going to give you, you can get different 4-year degrees within this world, but I'm not sure. It just depends on what route you want to take. If you want to stay in the manufacturing side of school, I would just go for food science, in the school, or you come up the hard way, and I don't know if it's the hard way, but maybe it's the fun way of just working through kitchens and learning stuff. But I always say, just learn from good people. If you're learning from an idiot, then you're not going to learn anything, and you may be an idiot yourself. So
sure,
well, go learn from somebody that's good before you do your own thing in life. And I think a lot of people do that in the restaurant business. I think you see a lot of people, they're going to go work for these guys that are really good and then go branch out on their own. If they become successful or not, I don't, who knows, but
who was it that kind of mentored and inspired you along your way, and that you kind of learned?
I just think if you're smart enough and you've been around enough, then it's multiple people. If you're somebody who's stayed at one place, whatever kind of job for 15 years, and it's going to be that person. Me, it's I had a chef say to me when I first started in this business, he's like, dude, if you stay somewhere more than a year and a half and you're not really happy, you're not making more money, what's the point of staying there? You've learned everything that you need to know from that place, and you need to move on. So I mean, I moved on. I never, first time I really stayed somewhere was probably when I moved to Utah. But my whole 20 years in San Francisco, I'd bounced around. I'd do a year and a half, move around and whatnot. And I just think you take a lot of things from a lot of different people. It's not just one person.
Right.
I mean, this sounds kind of weird, but maybe it's myself. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me that I just kind of. I'm gonna say I'm a great listener, but you just kind of watch people and you go, look what that dude's doing. Look what she and go. And you pick something up from that and you go, hopefully I remember that or not, but it's being observational.
Right. Definitely staying observational.
It's like you. I mean, I'm sure when you were watching like some badass go down the hill and you're like, I can't do that, but I want to do that. And you just kind of want.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. No, definitely.
Being observational in life is pretty key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that's a big. But that's interesting. You say like a year and a half, and then you've gotten all you're going to get, and it's time to go branch out to another spot. That's pretty.
Yeah. Well, some people it's like, dude, they go somewhere and they make pasta for a year and a half, and holy hell, that's a great skill to have, dude. Because I suck at that, but that's what they have for a couple of years, and that's what they gained out of that place. And God bless you, for. Me, it was maybe like I was making a crab cake at some place for a year or something in San Francisco when I was younger, but I knew how to make the best crab cake you'll ever eat, so
right.
Repetition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how fun is that to kind of be able to bring into a new menu? Because I mean, I remember when we were at the restaurant, the amount of creativity that I would say for a brew pub was pretty interesting. The type of food you would be able to get. To be able to find there.
But it's always a fight, dude. It's always like, you can't do food what you want to do. You realize, if you're smart, you realize soon that it's not what you want, it's what everybody else wants.
Sure.
Okay, somebody wants a chicken Alfredo. Oh, all right, at a certain place that you're at, how do I make that chicken Alfredo the best that I can, and given the circumstance that you're in, it's not like I made, when you knew me, I didn't make the best mac and cheese that I could, but it was the best that I know that everybody could replicate and everybody would like, and like I wouldn't have any issues with it. So it's, there's always a trade-off, and
right.
but
also
there's
the best nachos, by the way, too. The way you throw the nachos. Most places just throw that thing in the microwave. And I remember those nachos were out of this world. Throw that.
Well, that
thing
was
in the
funny
oven.
because I came into that situation and I was just like, okay, I've been in fine dining for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came into that situation. I'm like, or I got to dumb it down, and I don't think I did a great job necessarily dumbing it down.
No,
I did some things well, but man, hey, listen, it's all about the relationships you make too. Like working there was like, you go and you talk to customers, you talk to people. That it's and I went out and I talked to a lot of people. Just be like, hey, what's going on? How are you? And that's the fun part, is just meeting people through this whole thing. Just not taking it seriously.
Yeah. Absolutely. No. And what's ahead for Arby's? What's the sneak peek? What's on the horizon? Good stuff.
Well,
got some good
usually
coming up.
Yeah, so we got a fish one coming up. That's a great question. It's a cod. It's a Pacific cod, beer battered fish that's coming out this next month or right now. And we have a good presence in Utah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Franchisee there, and so the cod's coming out. I got a cheesesteak coming out, and the cod's great. It's a trip, man. When you go, you're like, how do you guys? You wonder about the cod. And when it comes in, and I've been to these facilities where they make it, and it's clean, man. I want to let everybody know that eats fast food out there and wonder where their food comes from, and like you'd be surprised, how clean some of these places, most of these places that you go, and that the processing of it and everything, it's very clean. It's interesting. And so that's what we have coming out. It's on a brioche bun, tartar sauce, lettuce, pickles, fresh pickles, by the way, which means they have to be refrigerated. Lettuce, tomato, pickle, tartar sauce, brioche bun, fish. Also have a cheesesteak coming out next in a couple months, and that's all ribeye meat. Minimally processed, Oh man, you're getting me started right now, because I started thinking about. I know people have questions about. Man, we should do one with food one time and have people just ask questions, dude. Because like Beyond the Beyond Meat, what's the other one? What am I drawing a blank? Help me out with the plant protein one. What's Impossible?
Impossible Burger, right? Isn't that what it is?
There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine, but there's a lot of people out there that have the perception like, oh, we don't want to eat meat because it's overly processed. Or if they just want to eat vegetarian, that's fine. I get it. That's totally cool. But that stuff's pretty processed, man. There's like 18, 19 ingredients in an Impossible Burger, and it's like, if you look at that process compared to just having a piece of meat, you're like, okay, but if you're of the theory of like, oh, I don't want to eat meat, hey, that's cool. And then you're fine. It's not a bad product. So that's a whole different other discussion. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely interesting to start to go down that rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah. I need to be that guy out there who answers these questions for people, dude. Like I could set up a phone line and be like, yeah, call me up. What do you need now?
Well,
dude, let me put your fears to rest, bro. And if you do have fears and I know about them, I can tell you about them, and then you won't. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to do this again, my man. Thanks so much for taking the time and being able to chat a little bit about.
Absolutely, dude. Really, it was great to see you. Not just see you, but talk to you.
I know.
Yeah,
it's good. Make your way out to St. George.
I just hugged you, dude. I just gave you a hug too. I just give you a big bro hug right now. So.
All right, my man. Well, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
And, thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.